Tyler, the moderator's mom, made masks for everybody. That's a hot dog one. This is another hot dog one. That's another hot dog one. That's another hot dog one. Oh, how about this one? So once again, Tyler, the moderator's mom, made these masks for us. And I think it's awesome. And now I'm going to put the pressure on some of the other people here to see if their moms could do something nice to keep me protected. Ooh, what's this one? This one is this is coffee. We got coffee here. There it is, coffee. How good is that? I'm going to keep Tyler around for a little while longer. And I wasn't, but I'm going to now. Here's another coffee one. These are great. Are you kidding me? These are awesome. Tyler, the moderator. I'm watching Scott Van Pelt on SportsCenter last night, and Van Peasy plays Stuart Scott's highlights the night of the flu game, now the food poisoning. So Stuart is there in Bristol at the mothership headquarters, and he is leading into the highlights. So the game is over, and he's leading into the highlights. Now listen to what Stuart Scott says on SportsCenter leading into the highlights that night about Michael Jordan and his health.
Maybe it was takeout food. The Bulls' Park City dwelling in Utah does not have room service, but at 5:10 Utah time, Michael got to the arena. A touch of the flu after sleeping all day. No doubt, though, the four-time Finals MVP would start.
Okay, let me go back and play what Stuart said that night. This is, probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes after the game, where Mike is sick, but he comes back and, of course, has this heroic performance in Game 5. This is what Stuart Scott said that night.
Maybe it was takeout food. The Bulls' Park City dwelling in Utah does not have room service, but at 5:10 Utah time, Michael got to the arena.
So, once again, we weren't staying there. ESPN was staying in Salt Lake City, downtown Salt Lake City. I was told that Mike was staying in Park City. Now we're finding out that that's true. And where he was staying, from what I was told, was not a hotel. And so he had the top floor, and he had friends there. There were 3 people that I met a year and a half ago who said, we worked that night. We worked that night, and we delivered, we were basically bartenders there. But Stuart is finding that Stuart knew this then. How did he find out that they don't have room service? And he is suspecting takeout. I'm going to play it one more time just because I'm blown away by this. And
maybe it was takeout food. The Bulls' Park City dwelling in Utah does not have room service, but at 5:10 Utah time, Michael got to the arena. A touch of the flu after sleeping all day.
Man, that's outside the lines there. Eat it, Bob Lee. Booyah! That's pretty good. Pretty good. Now, I know Stuart was friends with Mike, but I don't know if Mike would have been on the phone or if Stuart checked in with Ahmad Rashad. But I will say this. Stuart was great with attention to detail. He would drive the stats people crazy. Our research department, he'd drive them crazy because he always wanted to give you something that nobody else could. And man, I applaud you, Stu. That is awesome. Pretty good. How does it go wrong for Tom Brady in Tampa?
I don't think it does. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I really like what they have going there, but mostly because I think Tom Brady was handed a shorter deck at the wide receiver position for the last few years here, and now he's got players there. Obviously, injury could come about, but I feel like the only thing that could maybe be a bit of a problem, especially now with Gronk on the team, in the short season, right? I mean, we've got, I don't know how Carolina's going to put a football team together, new coach, new quarterback, new coordinators, and no time to be together. So maybe if they get off to a slow start in Tampa because they haven't had that practice time that they're used to having, and it's a tough division and New Orleans gets the better of them, maybe that's how it happens. But I really am excited to watch Tampa this year. I just really am. I think that entire city is going to be a buzz. I don't think Tom Brady has lost anything. I shouldn't say hasn't lost anything. Of course, he's lost something. But I really feel like that they have the ability to come right out and play great football. And I do think he has 2 good years in him. And Bruce Arians, as long as those two can figure out a common offense where it's not Tom Brady and Gronk going, listen, we don't have time, Bruce, to put in everything. This is what I know how to run. I'm going to teach my guys how to do it. And somehow Bruce or Byron Leftwich or somebody that causes a problem. But I just don't see that happening. I really don't.
What was the goal when you started this?
Well, I didn't start it. A bunch of guys in England were actually Neil Hornsby and the guys are the ones that actually started it. And I just literally was looking for help online. They wanted me to do a post-game show on NBC. And I said, well, hey, that's a great idea, except I never see any of the games other than the one that we're doing on Sunday night. I may, have it on in the background, but I'm studying all day trying to get ready for our game as well. So I started looking around and I find these sheets and color-coded things that PFF put out. And so I plug in $26.99 and I say, okay, blah, blah, blah. And I said, this is pretty good because I'd done a bunch of these games recently. So I type in the little, contact us thing. I said, who the hell are you guys, man? I figured it was a bunch of coaches or something like that. And so about 3 minutes later, this guy, Neil Hornsby, calls and with this British accent. And he says, oh, it's Neil Hornsby. I can't do a British accent. It's Neil Hornsby. It's so nice to meet you, Chris. And all I can think is this SOB just hustled me out of $26.99. I'm so out of my mind mad. I can't stand it. So I said, this is going to last about 15 seconds. So I start firing off questions to him about, linebackers and guards and kickers and things that no way this Brit knows anything about, right? After about 5 minutes, I have shut up and just started listening. This guy knows way more about football, knows way more about the league, knows way more about everything than I do. And I said, who in the hell are you? And they had this internet band of brothers put together, about 11 of them, that was, they found American football interesting, started when all the online stuff started back in the early 2000s and the 90s. And they had 11 or 12 teams that were paying for their services at the time. It's just one of the most incredible stories that you'll ever hear. And now it's, all 32 teams and 70 something college teams and the networks. And it's been pretty fun.
Dallas is at the breaking point, I think, because you spent all that money on everybody. And now Dak comes in and reportedly turned down 5 for 175. At what point? Yeah, go ahead.
It's exactly the point. It's exactly what we're studying right now. And I'm saying I'm just going to throw out Eric Eager's name because it's really, he's the mathematician. But that is exactly the line. And when we tried to break it down with just quarterbacks, right, the numbers came out very clear that the rookie wage scales gave you a great advantage. But the clearer picture of what was really going on was the totality of everything within the league, whether it was you had to add up the quarterback and the wide receivers and the offensive line and the tight end. We sort of left the running backs out for now, and we'll explain all that later. But when you begin to add up all of those categories, they sort of came out pretty close, right? They were like in the, like Baltimore had a great advantage. So Baltimore with Lamar Jackson, drafted late in the first round, had to pay very little for their quarterback position. So they could load up. They could sign Calais Campbell this offseason. They could do some different things. So they were more in the 30 to 35 million, something like that, maybe even low 30s. But then most of the teams that had a quarterback were up in the 50 to $55 million range. So that means now if you come in and you're going to sign Patrick Mahomes for 45, $50 million, right? That scale is now going to slide up so high.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Right now, they've been able to sign 2 tackles on the Kansas City Chiefs that can play, right? They have more wide receivers and they know what to do that with. They have Kelsey that is, making good money. Chris Jones, you got to make a decision on the other side of the ball. So at some point, you don't get to say, I'm just going to pay this guy. You've got to say, I'm going to pay this guy, and it's going to cost me this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. And that's the decision. Now it works as long as you have a Russell Wilson, a Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers. You have somebody of that caliber. And the question for the Dallas Cowboys very clearly now, does Dak fit in that category? I think that we're starting to see some of these guys. So it's whoever won the Super Bowl, right? We're all going to copy them. If the 49ers had won, they'd all be doing these outside zones, 2 tight ends, all that kind of stuff. But the Kansas City Chiefs won with Hill and Kelsey and Watkins, McCole Hardman, and they go out and get this Edwards-Helaire, who is an unbelievable guy. You're talking about somebody you can't tackle in the open field as far as a running back.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable. But we talked about Tampa Bay now loading up a receiver. The Dallas Cowboys, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup with CD Lamb. Emmanuel Sanders goes to New Orleans Saints with Michael Thomas. Stephon Diggs with John Brown and Cole Beasley. I mean, you go right down the list. I think the copycat league right now is that we're going to go just load up with all these unbelievable playmakers. Running backs in the league right now are fairly interchangeable. So let's go get a quarterback. Let's go get some of these great wide receivers, and let's see what happens out there. But it is turning into touch football. I mean, it really is. It's turning into, all right, well, let's put nobody in the backfield and spread this sucker out and go throw it around. Or you've got the 49ers and the Shanahan style of play. Let's compact it like the Rams, like you saw with the 49ers, like you're going to see with the Green Bay Packers a little bit. And let's do the outside zone, the bootlegs, and the jet sweeps and everything off of that.
Yes or no? Would you sign Dak Prescott to that money?
I think playing quarterback for the Cowboys is a unique position. It takes a special person. It takes a big personality that can handle the sort of the weight of everything that comes with it, including Jerry as the owner, including all the media attention, including playing on prime time all the time. And I think Dak is that unique leader. And I honestly, he made a huge jump in my mind last year. I think he handles the pressure. I think he's plenty mobile enough in this league that I think is really making a bold move in that direction. I don't think the quarterback position will look anything like what we were used to it 10 years ago, 20 years ago, pretty soon here. I think he's plenty mobile enough. He's a really smart guy. He can handle it. I would pay him in about the range where they're talking about now. But if it starts getting up closer to the 40 million or whatever plus, I'd have a problem just based on the math that we're doing right now.
Here is the highest percentage of salary cap used by Super Bowl winning quarterback. This since 1994. The highest percentage used on a quarterback was 13% of the salary cap. It was used on Steve Young, 1994. Eli Manning is second on that list. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady in 2014 was 10% of the salary cap. Peyton Manning again at a little over 10%. And Brett Favre at 10% in 1996. I don't know what. McLevin, can you do the numbers on Patrick Mahomes? What would his salary be compared to the percentage of the salary cap?
Assuming 50 million?
I don't think they're giving him 50 million. I'm going to guess that it probably would be 45 million, but let's say 45 million of the current salary cap. Can StatSync, bring that up for me? Which quarterback has the highest percentage of his team's salary right now? And if we run down the list here, how long does it take to get to a Super Bowl winning quarterback who has a real high number there? Brady's numbers were high, but they were not crazy high because he'd always give them sort of a discount or he'd extend that salary or stretch it out a little bit here. But I don't know if when's the last time we had a quarterback making elite money winning a Super Bowl? Highest percentage of salaries against the salary cap this year. Aaron Rodgers, 18%. Russell Wilson, 18%. Ben Roethlisberger, 18%. Jared Goff, 17%. Wentz, 17%. Matt Ryan, 16%. Kirk D. Cousins, 16%. Stafford, 16%. Garoppolo, 15%. Derek Carr, 14%. These would, if anybody in this group wins the Super Bowl, it would be the highest salary against the cap by a quarterback in NFL history. So Mahomes is going to be up to 25% or over 20% of his team's salary cap. Doug Gottlieb just joined us via Zoom. Doug, can you hear me?
I can. It's in my car, listening as I do every morning, taking my dog for a walk, and yeah, that's Odell Beckham Jr. in the background. And I wanted to help you out here. I completely disagree with you on Kareem, and I'll tell you why in a second.
Okay.
But the pettiness of Paul Pierce, and I've known Paul Pierce. We graduated same year of high school. He was my roommate at ABCD. Look, Paul's a prideful guy, and I think the fact that he was a great player in this, and people don't talk about him, I'm sure that doesn't sit well with him. But look, Dan, he's doing nothing different than what Isaiah's done for years. Isaiah and Jordan don't get along. He's downplayed Jordan for years, and he's doing the same. But the biggest mistake that he's making is what a lot of people my age do, talking about guys they never saw play. You know, like, look, Bill Russell's a great player. Will Chamberlain's, like, my only knowledge of Will Chamberlain is from my dad, who thought Will Chamberlain was a dog. You know, and then every big game he didn't show up in, every single one. So I would just say we should start from the Bird and Magic era and then move forward.
I'm fine with that. But you know what? Paul's an analyst and should be objective here and just say, look, I had a rivalry with LeBron. I didn't get along with him. And then if you want to say, here's my top 5 or my top 7, I'm fine with that. He's an analyst on ESPN.
Look, there's also a possibility he actually believes this. You know, he believes this. The problem is how he supports his argument.
That's true.
That's your point.
That's true.
Which is a really good. Look, my thing about Kareem, and Kareem's the guy who he checks all the boxes. But here's the thing: give me the moment. Give me just even one moment when he and Magic were on the Lakers where it was Kareem's team. If it wasn't, I mean, obviously the most famous moment in Magic's rookie year was what he did on the road against Philadelphia.
Yep. And
when they beat the Boston Celtics, it was Magic making the baby sky hook. Like, and I know that Kareem was past his prime, but when Kareem got to the Lakers, they didn't immediately win. Took them until they got Magic Johnson to win. Magic and Bird took over the league. I think you start there, then you go to Jordan. You got to include Duncan, and maybe, and Kobe in some of these modern day discussions. And then I think you have LeBron James and Shaquille O'Neal and some others as well. But look, I get the need. You're a Celtic. You got to mention Bill Russell. But, dude, we never saw Bill Russell play, so it's really hard to give context.
Well, Kareem was MVP in '85 in the finals.
Yeah, listen, I'm not saying he's not. No, I'm not sitting here telling you that you're an idiot for saying Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest player of all time. You can make an argument. My counter argument to that, Dan, would be
But Doug, I was including college basketball in this. He's the greatest player he's had. If I look at high school, college, and the NBA, he's the greatest player of all time. Greatest career. MVPs, won titles. He led the league in scoring, blocks, rebound. He did everything you wanted. I know you. If we said, "Oh, you're going to start your team with Kareem or Michael," I know that you're going to say Michael there,
right.
I might too. But Kareem did everything, and that's why it was laughable. The ESPN best college basketball player. It's not close. It is Kareem.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No. Listen. Yeah, I mean, look, Bill Russell, didn't they win 60 in a row with Casey Jones at the University of San Francisco? Granted, maybe not the overall dominance of Kareem at UCLA. Yeah. I would say, if you're going to do college and pro, then you put Bill Russell in there as well. He also did it as a player coach, which is unique.
I don't think Russell was a great player, though. I think he was the ultimate team player. He was so limited offensively, Doug. He was great at what he needed to be great at. And they had they had 8 Hall of Famers on that team at one point. And you had maybe the greatest coach of all time.
Okay, but many of the times in which they beat Wilt Chamberlain, and and Wilt Chamberlain's stats dipped against the Boston Celtics unlike any other time. And when Wilt Chamberlain played, whether it was with the Philadelphia Warriors or when he played with the Lakers, he had Jerry West and Elgin Baylor in his team. And only once when Wilt was far past his. We could go round and round.
I know.
My thing is I mean, even like Bill Russell's numbers were still crazy. But the game was totally different. There was very limited defense. There was no 3-point shot. And look, I'll take your word for it because you're the only one of the two of us to remember the history of basketball because you're that old, Dan. I'm kidding.
Thank you.
But I think the biggest mistake dudes make is like Paul. Like, look, I love Paul. We grew up in the same area. So he should have an affinity for Magic Johnson. Probably has. I don't know how he feels about Kobe because that was a contemporary. It's really hard to find guys who analyze basketball, who know the history of basketball. Because when you're a kid, you don't have time. If you're a player, you don't really have time to go and analyze. I'm the exception because I'm a coach's son. Most of the great players, they weren't breaking down. They weren't doing what Kobe was doing, breaking down Jordan's moves. They were just out there hooping, trying to get better, playing 4 or 5 games a day. And so the best perspective Paul can give you is, hey, I played against all these guys. Let me tell you, Kobe was better than LeBron, and here's why. That's where he can provide insight that no one else can. Now, it's really hard to disconnect your own personal feelings. I will tell you that there's a good group of former NBA players, some current NBA players are like, look, LeBron played in a terrible East. When he played in Miami, they not only joined the super team, but remember, they kicked out the legs from the Raptors and from the Cavs. And so that took away any sort of competition in the East. Yes, when he was 22, what he did, how they beat Detroit, but we had a lot of weird teams come out of the East. Remember, Allen Iverson came out of the East and was a one-man band. The East was just that far down.
Okay, we'll just settle on this here. Do you think LeBron's a top 5 player of all time?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Doug, it's great to talk to you.
Likewise.
All right, thank you. It's Doug Gottlieb there. Denny Hamlin, driver of the number 11 FedEx Toyota Camry car. Big winner last night. The rain-shortened Toyota 500 race from Darlington. He and his crew unveiled the number 11 FedEx small business paint scheme ahead of this weekend's race in Charlotte, and it pays tribute to small business owners, the real backbone of America, which is represented through the stars on the car. Denny joins us on the program. How you feeling today?
Feeling good. I kind of knew this interview was coming, so I had to put up a good performance to make sure.
Ooh.
Legitimized it,
If you weren't on the show, would you have won last night? Is that what you're saying?
I think we've talked about this, right? I mean, I think Paul and those guys have talked about you come on there and you win. It's just part of the process.
I don't want the word to get out, Denny. Then we'll be inundated with drivers trying to win. Is the job different? First of all, you're racing on a Wednesday night, and you're racing, with what's going on with no fans there. How different is that?
It's different. I mean, it's quiet. I mean, I can't express just the silence of it is the biggest thing. Inside the race car where the race is going on, we don't notice a huge difference. But when you get out and you win the race, and it's like, okay, go back to your bus for your Zoom media availability. That's when things become a little different.
Did you pour a drink on your head? Do you celebrate it all?
I haven't, but I will in due time.
Do you smoke the tires? I mean, come on.
No, well, because we got to reuse this engine in another race. So I got an email the night before saying, "Hey, protect this engine, no burnouts."
Do you ever have to you gear up for the weekend, but here it is a Wednesday night. Is it different to gear up for a Wednesday night race as opposed to a weekend race?
Well, we usually, like golf, we have one event per week usually. Well, now we're doing 2 per week for the next few months, trying to catch up. And so the biggest issue we have in motorsports is dehydration, right? I mean, it's so hot in the cars, you sweat out so much, it takes you days to get that back. Well, now we used to have a week to get it back. Now we just got a couple days before we're back in that car again. So the fatigue factor is the biggest thing that we need to kind of be aware of.
Do you ever eat during a race?
Sometimes, I mean, you get some snacks in there every now and then, but I haven't done it in years. I kind of just load up beforehand.
I'm assuming you watched The Last Dance since you're buddies with Michael Jordan. Did you see anything in there that surprised you?
Surprised me.
Well, you know that competitive side of him. You've seen
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I knew it, but obviously you hear stories, you read articles, things like that, but you kind of don't understand. I was so young when all this stuff was going on that like I wasn't able to appreciate it. Now I remember watching the 97, 98 finals, but I didn't remember the significance of it. And so going back and seeing everyone's testimony and everyone talking about it was amazing. And for me, I was like, I'm telling you, if that doesn't get you jacked up to like perform at your best and push all your teammates to perform better, I don't know what is. And so, I talked to them last night a little bit as well. People don't know that Darlington is the racetrack that grew his love for NASCAR racing. His dad used to take him to Darlington every year. So that's where he, got that relationship, and to win there kind of right after the Last Dance, I think is pretty cool.
You ever taken him for a ride along?
No, I don't think he'll do it. First of all, getting him in a car, it's going to be a problem. I mean, we're not jockeys or anything, but we're not 6'6" either. So I remember they having when Shaq got in a race car, they had to like cut out the centers of this race car and like expand it so he could get in.
But is there weight? I guess every car has to be a certain weight.
Yeah.
Okay. So if Shaq couldn't be even if you could put Shaq in a car, I'd have to get rid of a couple of like the engine.
Right. To be equal with everyone else. Yes. You can't shed enough metal off that thing to get it equal.
But is there an advantage to weighing less in NASCAR?
No, because they base it off of a 200-pound driver. So if you weigh 190, you have to add 10 pounds to your car. And so they even it out that way.
Who would have a personality similar to Michael Jordan's in NASCAR?
From the competitive side,
yeah.
I don't know that there's anyone as competitive as I am. I mean, maybe Kyle Busch, with being kind of sometimes tough on his team, things like that. But he's just trying to push, same as Michael, those guys to get to the next level.
We're talking to Denny Hamlin, driver of the number 11 FedEx Toyota Camry car. Had the win last night. Next up is Charlotte, I believe. Is that right this weekend?
Yeah. And you talked about it, the small business, and they're actually providing a grant for small businesses. $1 million is available in grant money. So encourage everyone to go to FedEx.com, backspace sports small grants, and see if you can get a grant from them. So yeah, they've just been a huge supporter of my career. This is my 15th year now with them. We got the Coke 600 coming up this weekend in Charlotte, and then we go back there on Wednesday. So we're cramming a lot of races in here in a very short amount of time.
Did you ever drive a FedEx truck?
I did. I've delivered race tickets. I believe it was out in Phoenix. Went out on a FedEx
Full
truck.
uniform?
Full uniform. Yep. They were pleasantly surprised to see me at the door delivering the tickets too over the normal guy.
Explain the middle finger etiquette in NASCAR with Chase Elliott last night.
He actually had pretty good form with it, to be honest with you. I mean, just kind of had a few knuckles up, he didn't, move his hand around. He just kept it steady right there in line with the car. So it was good form, in my opinion.
Okay, but what is middle finger worthy on the track?
I don't know. I guess that one probably was. I mean, we all, everyone that knows racing knows that, it was an accident, but still, he got screwed in the process. Worked out good for me, but it's, the one thing that really does piss me off though is getting it while you're racing. Like, you're racing a guy and maybe you bump into him, whatever, and he sticks his middle finger out of the window, and you can see it. Like, it's time to send him.
What do you mean?
Oh,
Tap
you
him?
send him- you got to send him in the fence. Don't be giving me the middle finger.
What if I give you the double bird?
That means you're in the fence because no hands are on the wheel.
But you haven't been in a fight in a while, right?
Last year we had a little tussle with Joey Logano again. Me and him we butt heads a little bit. You know, he kind of came over to talk to me, and I'm cordial. I stood there like a man and wanted to talk to him, and that's all good. But then kind of as he walked away, kind of gave me a shove in the shoulder as he was walking away, and that didn't work. So,
you know, I like your fire, but he's got some reach on you, Denny.
yeah, he does. But you know, big man like that's got to have slow reflexes.
Well, congrats on the win last night. Good luck this weekend. Always great to check in with you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Dan. See you guys. Appreciate it.
That's Denny Hamlin, driver of the number 11 FedEx Toyota, and win last night. Todd, what did I learn on the program?
Chris Collinsworth thinks the Cowboys should pay Dak Prescott. He's got the personality to handle Dallas's pressure, and he's made some strides in the past season.
What we learned brought to you by Traeger, real wood-fired flavor, next-level versatility. Traeger grills, the ultimate way to cook. Contact your local dealer or go to TraegerGrills.com/DP show. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you tomorrow.